my lead today on the show was, for years there's been, J.J. Redick said the quiet part outside.
Yes.
Which is, for years and years, we've sort of known, like, eventually LeBron needs the playoff ball. But, like in Cleveland, he relegated Kyrie to a two-guard. Mm-hmm. And Kyrie didn't like it, right? And it worked, but I kind of now understand that Kyrie is so there's so much dexterity to his game. He's like, I'm not going to be a shooting guard. D. Wade, not as naturally gifted as Kyrie, sort of went, yeah. So Luka shows up, and JJ says, no, that's his offense. Are you shocked it was said out loud?
No, I think that it was done in a way that everybody knew what was happening. They waited a few games, right? It was like, oh, Luka's, he's not quite fitting in with the Lakers yet, or, oh, his conditioning isn't quite there. It was partly because of the way they were playing.
Right.
But they have to give deference to LeBron. It's his team. They have to sort of show that at the beginning. And we've seen this with the NBA. Coaches do this kind of thing all the time. If they know they're going to move a sort of big-name vet to the bench, they'll let that guy play a couple games as a starter for that season and be like, maybe it makes sense to move you to the bench, even though they knew that summer all along that's what they were going to do.
Yeah.
I think that was the plan here with Luka. And frankly, I think LeBron has been looking for this. I think LeBron was hoping that Anthony Davis would take
Anthony's not a playmaker.
But he is not a playmaker in that way. He was never going to be able to do that. So the fact that he now has a guy who can, frankly, extend his career and extend him within games. We've seen so many games with LeBron, you can tell by the third or fourth quarter, especially defensively, he's starting to wear down. And Luka's just going to take some of that physical load off him in so many ways, and just the pounding he's going to get through the first few quarters.
Yeah, it's interesting. For the record, Anthony Davis is hurt. The Mavericks are actually playing well. And Kyrie and Luka got along well.
Yeah.
And I may have some misgivings about some of the stuff with Kyrie and disruptions. He is an all-time offensive talent. If you talk to NBA players, they talk about Kyrie in like Kobe reverence. Like, you can't stop him. Either hand.
Iverson-esque, sort of, with that idea offensively.
And if he was 4 inches taller, he would win an NBA one-on-one contest. He's a little small to stop guys because he's that good. So tomorrow, Lakers play Dallas.
Yes.
I saw a story where they won't let Luka jerseys in the building in Dallas. Are you surprised? The anger. Now, Dallas is playing pretty well.
Yes.
So that really has helped the situation. But are you surprised by the outrage of it?
No, I mean, look, this game tomorrow is going to be here in Los Angeles. And the big question there is Nico Harrison going to sit visibly in the stands in a way that Luka can see him? Because that's really the back and forth that we expect possibly tomorrow. Because Luka, when he gets amped, and we've seen him start swearing at fans or kind of pick a guy out and play. But people are still so angry in Dallas that later this spring, when Luka comes to Dallas, I am so fascinated at who they're going to root for. At that point, Dallas is going to really be trying to make a run into the playoffs. I don't know what's going to happen because none of this has simmered down. None of it. If you talk to people in Texas, they are just as angry as they were when this first happened.
Yeah. I still think Dallas has a really good team, and when AD comes back, they're going to be a handful. I really believe if you think Kyrie is as gifted an offensive player as the sport has, and there's an argument. If you think AD is the best defensive player in the league, I do. You can't tell me with all those other parts, Dallas is not a team capable of getting to the conference final.
It's just they're going to run out of time this year with the amount of time that AD is projected to miss and Lively is projected to miss. And it just seems like they're going to run out of time to be able to coalesce and make a run. And then you're really betting on next year or the year after that. And that bet is hedged against the next 10 years of Luka's career.
Right.
So you have bet on this 1 or 2 year window that the Mavs are going to be the better team. But you are betting against that sometime in the next decade, Luka isn't going to make you look dumb and win a title. And I think there's a good chance Luka's going to win a title here in L.A.
So for years, Jimmy Butler, listen, whenever there's a divorce, there's finger pointing, if not publicly, privately.
Yes.
Could be Brady Belichick. It doesn't matter if it's Aaron and the Packers.
Yes.
So Jimmy Butler wins everywhere. He got the Bulls to the playoffs.
Yep.
The T-Wolves to the playoffs.
Yep.
The Sixers, if not for a bounce, the Kawhi bounce, they finally get to a second-round playoff series. So it's the best series they've ever had. Miami, last 4 years, 2 finals. And then he goes to Golden State, and it's like, oh, now they get to the free throw line. You cover the league. So obviously he's too talented to just bounce around. Some of it's true that he can be a pain in the butt. But he's also a winning player. Like, inside the league, Why? Miami, I understood. He wanted big money, and they're like, we're not going to do it. I get that. But what is his reputation in the league? Because he wins everywhere.
Yeah, everyone knows how good he is, and that, as you said, every single place he has been, he has worn out his welcome. Now, what Golden State is banking on is this is the end. They've got the contract that he's going to have for the next couple of years. He agreed to it. By the time that deal is done, he'll be 37 years old. So they're sort of betting on the fact that there won't be some big, crazy, blow-up, acrimonious ending, and that in the meantime, he is giving Steph Curry an ending to his Golden State time that is competitive and
they're
fun
on the same
and
timeline.
Interesting, and they're on the same timeline. And before it, just with Klay gone, Steph was having to carry so much of the load, and even before Klay left, because he wasn't the player he used to be. Now he's got another guy. When he's off the court, if you look at the on-off minutes and Jimmy's on the court, he's making everyone better, even the bench players. And they needed that shot in the arm so badly. And Steve Kerr said he gives us the swagger we haven't had in a while.
That's right. Yeah. And I do think this is I do think Steph Curry has been such a great statesperson for the league.
Has, right?
And I don't believe this very often, but I do believe it in Steph Curry's case. You kind of owed him one.
Yeah. Oh, I think they felt they owed him one.
The Warriors did. Yeah.
I think they absolutely did, because they have a real sense of honor about what he has brought to their organization, what he has done for them financially and otherwise. But I also think they knew they had this incredible asset they could maximize. I mean, this guy's one of the most popular players on earth in any sport.
Yeah.
So keep him winning. You will keep people coming into the building and buying his merch.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just a personnel reality. You watch the Chiefs and the Eagles. Philadelphia had too many good players, right? And Kansas City couldn't block them. When I watch the Knicks, I'm like the coach. I thought Mikal Bridges, OG trade last year, they'd be a good defensive team getting better. One thing that has become clear is both Cleveland and Boston attack Cat, and they go right after him. The last two Boston Knicks games, I've watched the first quarter of both. It is over. Do you think New York has misgivings about Karl Anthony-Towns? Because he is a gifted offensive player.
I mean, if they are, they just weren't very intelligent about what they were getting, and I don't believe that. That's a smart front office. They know he's not a defensive center. I mean, we all know that. That's why Minnesota brought in Rudy Gobert. They knew what they were getting in Karl Anthony-Towns. I think they hoped Mitchell Robinson would be healthier and back earlier than he has been. But also, they thought they'd get better perimeter defense, which they haven't been getting. They have played so badly defensively for a Tom Thibodeau team. It's shocking, Colin. It is shocking.
Well, Josh Hart just came back. That'll help. Robinson and Hart will help.
He did, but he's been in and out. It's not like he's been just gone for the last couple months. I mean, they've had guys there. They've had injuries, but everyone has injuries. This has been it just against the three. They're in the 29th or 30th in the league, depending on the day. Yeah. And when you look against top 10 offenses, again, they are second to last in the league defensively.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
Is it
for a Tibbs
Hartenstein,
team.
honestly? Was he better than we thought?
There's so many different ingredients that went into this. It's who they traded away. It's now having guys who are vulnerable. Like, you can attack Karl Anthony-Towns, and frankly, you can attack Jalen Brunson because of his size. I mean, he's such a gritty player. He's been a marvel for them, but he can't grow. He only is who he is, and they thought they could shore up some of the other spots, and it just hasn't happened.
How about, I think Daryl Morey's a really smart guy. But when you put your arms around certain players, and they put their arms around Embiid, and I've always said there are components to him that are Shaq-like, but he's an odd player for me. He's on the perimeter too often. He's 29% from the floor on threes, and he's shooting more of them. That I know he's gifted. I don't think he's a bad guy. But I said this earlier, sometimes he's the big truck in the garage that it's broken down again and you can't get it out. Like, he's not available. Is Embiid going to cost that front office work? I mean, this thing feels like, Rachel, it's gone over the edge.
I mean, he had swelling again over the weekend, and they said they're going to get new imaging on his knee, and they're talking about surgery. If it were me, I would shut him down for the rest of the season. You're not salvaging anything, and frankly, your draft pick is top 6 protected. So if you land outside there, you're going to have to give up your draft pick. You want to keep that draft pick, especially considering how this season has gone. So I would shut him down. I would get him whatever surgery he needs. He came back too quickly last year after playing in a game where he got hurt in the very first place. This whole source of this injury, he never should have been playing in the first place, but he was being pressured to come back and play because of the 65-game rule, and he was on his pace and all of this stuff. He never should have played in that game because he had missed the game before, and he should never have come back as early as he did. He is a guy who physically, with the amount of height and weight and sort of the way he plays, I don't think is ever going to be an 80-game player. I mean, we've seen that. And I think if they treat him going forward, if they can get him healthy after this season and treat him going forward as, hey, this guy's going to play 60 games for us, that's just how it's going to be, I think they have a chance of being able to reset here with him and Paul George. But I would shut down things for the season because Paul hasn't been healthy either.
So I am a big believer in, I think baseball did a great job. Pitch clock has shortened the game by 25 minutes. Mm-hmm. Since they've done it, attendance and ratings up. At Fox, we had great numbers in the National League playoffs. I thought it was the best baseball playoffs in a decade, since maybe the Cubs year. Mm-hmm. Really good. I am a tweaker. I believe in it. I think the NBA is overthinking the All-Star weekend. All-Star games outside of baseballs, and baseballs to some degree, they're just not the same. Mm-hmm. They're not as special. Every game's on TV. I just don't care. And they're trying to tweak it, and I think their tweaks aren't working. Could I just make an argument that the NBA All-Star Weekend, the world has changed. Mm-hmm. The Pro Bowl's unwatchable. Hockey just said, let's try something new.
Totally different.
Is there a way to solve the NBA All-Star Weekend?
Well, I was in San Francisco on the ground for you, Colin, and I asked several players, what about a one-on-one tournament? Because I don't know if you were paying attention to what the Unrivaled Women's League did recently, but Nafisa Collier won their one-on-one tournament. It was fantastic TV. No one was too embarrassed to go out there and try. Everybody went and did it. So I asked Kyrie Irving, I asked James Harden, I asked Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Edwards. They all said on camera, recorded, that they would participate in a one-on-one tournament. So maybe next year, that's what we need. Now, Giannis did say you need to, match up the guys in terms of guards versus big men. Right. And he said also, I'd like to see defense be part of that. So it's not just, you score on me, you're out, on to the next guy. That's interesting. Could be interesting, right?
Yeah. I'll wrap it up with this. So the NBA signed an 11-year, $76 billion deal. Mm-hmm. They're fine. Now, I think NBC overpaid for it. I think the rights holder currently, the incumbent, ABC, ESPN, that's where I'll watch my NBA. Mm-hmm. Or on Fubo or some, device. I'm probably not going to go to a streaming service on a Tuesday night to watch Orlando play Cleveland. Sure. I'm probably not going to go to NBC. So you can argue they overpaid for it. But bottom line with a new contract, Adam Silver's happy, the players are happy, the owners are happy.
11 years of financial security here.
Do you think, but they do get a lot of pushback. My argument is it's better to be polarizing than indifferent. Yeah. And that we all grew up, it's not an expensive sport. It's not hockey or golf or skiing or tennis. Mm-hmm. It's not exclusionary. And that the fact that people have an opinion on basketball is good. Yeah. They do get beat up on the rating stuff. Do you think the league cares?
Yes, I absolutely think they care. I know for sure that
about the rating stuff.
They do, yeah, of course they do. I mean, it's not. It doesn't look good. And yes, they have their TV contracts wrapped up for the next decade plus, but they still need advertising and sponsorships and things like that. You don't want the perception that the league is in trouble. That being said, they keep stressing there's other metrics that their fans use. It's not just traditional cable TV anymore. They particularly have tech-savvy fans, people watching on their phones. They're the most streamed league. Their social media is the highest, which is where a lot of people watch clips, things like that. So their big thing is, hey, we're still being watched by so many millions and, in fact, billions of people worldwide.
We're watching it differently.
It's just not the way you're measuring. And I think that has truth to it. It's like everything else that has some truth to it. And, yes, ratings are down because people are interested in other things. Generationally, people are not as interested in traditional sports if you're under a certain age, and that's just across the board.
I've had this theory. I don't know if I've told it to you, that the iPhone changed everything.
Sure.
Is that we're an event culture. Mm-hmm. So UFC is safe, college football is safe, the NFL is safe, the Olympics are safe, the World Cup is safe. And the World Series is safe, and big events are safe.
Well, the hockey that you liked so much was a big event.
It was an event. Events are safe, but we are so distracted on this that Monday through Friday sports that don't feel special, my wife is not going to let me after a football season. We're watching Netflix.
Yeah, it's not happening on a Tuesday night.
I mean, I honestly believe this, is that my wife will give me events.
Yes.
But if you look at baseball, hockey, and the NBA, regular season stuff.
Yeah.
It's a hard pull.
It is a harder sell. And by the way, this is part of the push and pull the NBA has with its stars sitting out of regular season games, because then the players are messaging to the fans, we don't think it's that important
That's
either.
Right. Yeah, I hate load management.
I mean, it's a tough position to be in.
Yeah. Are you going to the NBA? Are you going to the Lakers Mavericks tomorrow? J-Mac, you like controversial events. You're very controversial as a whole.
I'm controversial?
Are you going to go to it?
I will be there, yes.
I would like to see if the Nico-Luka face-off
I would
happens.
guess Nico's not going to be there.
You know, well, I mean, I think he'll be in the area, but I don't know if he'll be
I don't know.
visible.
Luka's
in the
crew
stands.
might go after him. I mean
Luka's
Luka's dad may go after the guy. He's really ticked off, some of the comments he had afterwards.
I don't think Nico Harrison has been seen in his regular seats in Dallas since the trade happened because of the fans around him.
God. I still think if Anthony Davis was healthy, you'd look at them, and on a nightly basis, you'd feel like we could end up in the finals. I think what makes it worse is Anthony's out, they're banged up, there's no Luka, so the product's not very good. Even when they win, it's not as lively.
Was this unforeseeable to you, though, when they traded for a 31-year-old guy with an injury history that was worse than the injury history
No. I
of the
wouldn't have made the deal.
25-year-old
I argued this with somebody in the airport the other day. I said because he had missed back-to-back camps, he was hurt since around Christmas, conditioning's poor, doesn't defend. He's the worst star defender in the league. I said, if you gave me 3 firsts, Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves, I wouldn't do it, but I could make an argument. Okay, I can couple those 3 picks into 1 first, get a star. I could make an argument. I think it's unfair and intellectually dishonest to not acknowledge he's an atrocious defender. His conditioning is hit and miss. He doesn't necessarily always play well with others. And he'd been hurt in back-to-back camps, and it was the same injury. Yeah. It's this calf stuff, which can be a condition. Yes. So I think you have to be fair about this. It was a bad haul. They just didn't get enough. But I understand the conversation of he's aging really fast. I get that conversation.
I don't know. I watched Nikola Jokic at around the same age completely change his diet and habits and go out and win 3 MVPs and an NBA title. I think that Luka Dončić, as competitive as he is, has done his whole career by eating what he wants, drinking what he wants.
Right.
He's been a prodigy since he was 11 years old. And guess what? It's all worked out, Colin. We know people like that, right? We know people in regular life who've just kind of gone along with bad study habits or good genetics or whatever it is, and they just always seem to do well on the test no matter what or any of that. And at some point, they hit a level where just being smart enough doesn't mean you'd always do well on the test. And just having good genetics doesn't mean that you always jump the highest. He is going to reach a point where his conditioning is catching up with him, and maybe that is now.
I think it is now.
But I think he has gotten the mental wake-up call he has needed with this trade, that we are going to see him in different kind of conditions, just like we did with Jokic. So we'll see. I mean, again, Nico Harrison has bet the next 10 years against the next couple years of what Anthony Davis can do.
Yeah, it's a bad deal for them.
And they're already losing this season of that bet because Anthony got hurt. And again, one might argue that while that particular injury wasn't foreseeable the way he got hurt, it was a foreseeable fact that he could be injured for a stretch of his Mavericks career because of his history and age.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.